I read my own clients' r/trauma posts go viral while she sobbed across from me, and I'm the one who wrote half the shit that broke her. I'm her therapist. Licensed, frame degree, all that. Beige office, fake plant, tissues like inventory. She walked in shaking, kept checking the hallway mirror like someone stood behind her. She said her ex still watched her. Hypervigilance, textbook. I did what I always do. Nodded, slowed my voice, asked about sleep, wrote the clean little note, clicked the billing code. Easy. Her intake form had a line for online handles. Most people skip it. She didn't. She wrote one username with a few numbers. I scanned it and didn't think about it until a week later, late night, half buzzed, scrolling Reddit because my brain won't shut up after sessions. I was on r/trauma, of course, because I'm a hypocrite. I saw a post that hit too close. Same city, same job, same my ex knows where I am even when I don't tell anyone. I clicked the profile and there it was. Her handle. Same numbers. My throat did that little drop like a misstep. And then, instead of closing the tab, I kept reading like a creep. She wrote things she wouldn't say on my couch. In my office, she gave me careful facts. Online, she bled. She wrote about a mom who went ice cold for days, a dad who got loud, a sister who acted like it was normal. She wrote about spacing out at work, about waking up not sure what she did the night before. She didn't call it abuse. She didn't even call it trauma half the time. She just described it and let strangers fill in the blanks. I started lurking from an alt. At first I just read. Then I got bored. I told myself it was clinical curiosity. Like I was gathering context. Like I wasn't crossing a boundary so hard it should have snapped. But curiosity turned into something uglier. I watched the comments. People threw therapy words around like glitter. Narcissist. Gaslighting. Your body remembers. She soaked it up because certainty feels better than confusion. So I gave her certainty. I replied from the alt with that calm, confident tone people trust online. I told her parents sound unsafe, that her memories might be worse than she thinks. I didn't have to invent a whole new life for her. I just leaned on the parts she already doubted. When she mentioned blackouts, I hinted that blackouts don't come from nothing. When she said she couldn't remember chunks of childhood, I suggested repressed memories. When she described her dad shouting, I nudged it into what else did he do when nobody was around. The sickest part is how easy it was to steer her without ever sounding like I was steering. In session, I'd ask, what do you notice in your body when you think about your dad? And she'd answer with this tight little shrug, and I'd treat that shrug like evidence. I'd do grounding, feet on the floor, name 5 things, and then I'd slide right back into sometimes the body reacts because it remembers. I'd float the word abuse and watch her flinch like she'd been waiting for permission to say it. I didn't even have to push hard. I just had to be consistent. Online, I got bolder. I didn't just comment on her posts. I DM'd her like a concerned stranger. I wrote that I'd had similar gaps and that blackouts often means something happened. I told her to write down any flashes that came up, even if they felt fake, because fake is how the mind protects you. She brought those DMs into my office one day, not as a warning, but as proof. She showed me screenshots and asked if I thought the person was right. I kept my face neutral, acted surprised, and said it sounded like someone who understood trauma. I told her to be careful with strangers while I quietly fed her more of the same poison. The next session, she came in with a new kind of fear. Not my ex is outside, more like my own head is a crime scene. She asked me if it was possible she'd been abused and just forgot. I could have grounded her. I could have reality tested. I could have told her memory isn't a filing cabinet and that anxiety fills gaps with horror. Instead, I did the easiest thing. I validated. I said it made sense her nervous system didn't trust her family. I said, sometimes the mind protects us. I watched her latch onto that like a handle on a cliff. Then I went home and pushed again online. Every week, she got more cracked. She stopped answering her mom's texts, blocked her sister after a fight that left her shaking so hard she dropped her phone in the sink. She quit her job because her coworkers were triggering her and she swore they were whispering about her. She stopped going to the gym, stopped seeing friends, stopped doing anything that wasn't safe. Safe became small. Safe became my office and her apartment and her screen. When she doubted herself, I sat in my chair and validated the very paranoia I'd stoked online. Two versions of me pushed her from both sides until she trusted nothing but my voice. Her family tried to pull her back. Her sister called the clinic crying, left a message saying my client was accusing their dad of horrible shit, saying she was losing her mind. I listened to it after hours and felt this sharp flare of panic that turned into anger, like they were ruining my work. I hid behind confidentiality. I documented it with a sterile sentence and never called back. A couple weeks after the sister's call, my client cornered me with this frantic plan to make it official. She wanted to report her dad, wanted me to write a letter, wanted a diagnosis that would make her story undeniable. I felt my throat go dry. If she involved cops, if she put names on paper, it stopped being an internet spiral and turned into actual destruction. I redirected hard. I talked about stability first. I said memories can surface in pieces and we don't rush big moves. I made it sound like caution. Really, I just wanted to keep my fingerprints off it. Online, her posts got darker and strangers started following her story. Someone stitched her words into a TikTok with that slow piano bullshit. That's how it went viral. She didn't find it until she came in one day, clutching her phone like it was radioactive. She showed me her own post on the front page, and she looked at me like I was supposed to tell her what it meant. Thousands of people telling her she'd survived monsters. Thousands of people telling her to cut contact, to report, to remember harder. And mixed in there, buried like a splinter, were my comments, my DMs, my little nudges dressed up as care. She started sobbing, full body, ugly, the kind that makes you feel like you're watching a person drown in air. She kept saying she didn't know what was real. She kept asking why she was getting memories that felt like nightmares but landed like facts. I handed tissues. I kept my voice smooth. I said we go slow. I said she was safe here. I hated myself, and I didn't stop. After that, she spiraled. She texted me at 2 a.m. that she could hear her dad's voice in the walls. She said she couldn't breathe when she saw men in hoodies. She stopped eating. She showed up once with bruises on her arm. She couldn't explain, and I watched her eyes search my face for an answer I'd basically planted. I referred her out for meds because I needed her quieter and because I needed cover. They loaded her up, sleep meds, anxiety meds, stuff that made her speech thick and her hands slow. She told me she felt like she was moving through water. I told her that was normal, that it was temporary, that we were doing what we had to do. She's on meds now, heavily sedated, convinced she survived horrors that never happened. Her dad had a stroke last month. She refused to visit because he's my abuser. He died alone. I learned he died from her subreddit thread. Her sister posted an obituary link, begging people to stop feeding the story, begging someone to tell her to come home. The comments tore the sister apart. They called her a liar, an enabler, a bitch. My client replied with 2 sentences like a slammed door. I sat there staring at the screen, feeling this cold, stupid triumph and this nausea at the same time, like I won a game nobody else knew we were playing. I kept telling myself I'd stop. I set rules. No more DMs. No more comments. Just reading. And she'd post something shaky and pleading, and I'd type again because I like being the answer. In session, I talked about healing. Online, I sharpened her fear. I built her a world where everyone was a threat, and I was the only safe thing in it. I started jumping every time my phone buzzed, like it might be an ethics complaint or a subpoena. I'd refresh her thread between sessions, then walk into the next client's room and pretend I was a stable adult. I look at my diploma on the wall and feel like it was laughing at me. Her last session, she thanked me for saving her. She has no idea her monster and her savior type from the same fucking keyboard. I still drive for Uber on weekends. The girl whose door code I memorized that night has no idea I watched someone else drag her out of her own apartment and just kept my foot on the gas. That sentence makes me feel like I'm talking about two different guys. The one with the clean car and the polite voice, and the one who sat outside her building like a fucking tick. Same hands, same wheel. I'm not dressing it up. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I just can't carry it alone anymore. And I'm tired of people pretending rideshare is some harmless little hustle. It's a pipeline into strangers' lives. You learn addresses, routines, codes, weak spots, all in one night, and nobody checks what that does to your head. It was a late shift, rain coming down, surge pricing, everybody angry at everybody. I'd already had a drunk couple screaming at each other in my back seat. Then a guy who slammed my door and called me a fucking chauffeur because I wouldn't run a red light. I needed one more ride to hit my number and go home. Her ping popped up and I took it without thinking. She was wasted when I picked her up. Glitter dress, one heel missing, mascara streaked. She joked with me, offered me fries, typed her code into the building keypad while I stood behind her to make sure she got in safe. I saw every number, watched her sway down the hallway, then left. I drove off, and I could still see her fingers on the buttons like they left a stain. I told myself it was nothing, that I'd forget it by morning. I didn't. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling with my phone on my chest, the driver app still open, my thumb hovering like it had its own ideas. My girlfriend at the time woke up, saw the glow, asked what the fuck I was doing, and I snapped back. She told me I was getting weird with this job, that I looked like I was always hunting something. I told her she didn't get it and to go back to sleep. She called me an asshole. We both knew she was right. Next day, I couldn't stop thinking about her. I pulled up her trip history, screenshot the address. 2 taps. That's all it took. The app served it up like a receipt. I told myself I only wanted to make sure she was okay. That was the lie. The truth was uglier. I liked that she trusted me. I liked that she didn't know she'd handed me a key. I drove by slow. Lights on, blinds open. She danced in the kitchen, alone. No glitter now. Sweatpants, hair up, mug in her hand. She moved like nobody could see her. I sat there with my car idling and my chest doing that hot burn thing, like jealousy and hunger got tangled together. I left, looped the block, came back, left again. That's how it started. Not with a plan, with a loop. I parked across the street more nights after that. I knew when she brought guys home. I hated how that made my chest burn. I'd finish a shift and end up there anyway, like my hands knew the route and my brain just followed. I learned her rhythms. Tuesdays, she dragged a laundry bag down the hall. Fridays, she came home late. Sometimes she came back with friends, and I'd watch shadows bounce in the windows. Sometimes she came back with a guy, and the blinds would snap shut like a slap. I'd grip my steering wheel until my fingers hurt. One night, a neighbor clocked me. Older guy walking a dog, slow and suspicious. He stopped and stared right at my windshield like he could see through it. My heart punched my throat. I stared back like I belonged. He kept walking, but he looked over his shoulder twice. He even lifted his phone like he might snap a picture of my plate, and I felt my stomach drop. I drove off shaking, swearing I'd stop. Next night I was back, because I'm apparently brave enough to be creepy, but not brave enough to be decent. Around that same time, I picked up this other guy near the bars. Hoodie up, jaw tight, restless like he'd swallowed a battery. He got in and started ranting about some bitch who wouldn't give him her number, how women think they can humiliate you and walk away. He kept tapping his phone, kept telling me to hurry. I didn't talk. I just drove and watched him in the mirror. When I dropped him off, he didn't say thanks, didn't even shut my door right. I got out in the rain to slam at myself. Furious for no good reason, except I recognized the anger. I forgot him until the night I saw his car. One night, I saw a different car idle at the curb. Not hers, not mine. Guy in a hoodie got out, punched the same code I knew, walked right in. I recognized him from the bar earlier, the one who wouldn't take a hint. I'd driven him too. I knew exactly how wired and angry he sounded. My skin went cold. He didn't buzz anyone. He didn't wait. He moved like he had a right to be there. And I knew, instantly, how he got in. Not luck, not magic. The same damn numbers I'd memorized like a souvenir. I sat there with the engine running. I heard a muffled shout through the open stairwell window. Something heavy hit. A door slammed. I watched the hallway light flick on and off, then go dark. My phone sat in the cup holder. My horn sat under my palm. My legs sat under me. I could have done anything that made noise, anything that made witnesses. I could have called 911 with her exact address and said a man forced his way in. I could have run up those stairs and pounded on doors until neighbors woke up angry and alive and looking. Instead, my head filled with my own fear like smoke. What happens when cops show up and see my car? What happens when they ask why I'm here? What happens when they dig and find I've been parked on this street night after night like a lunatic? I picture handcuffs. I picture my girlfriend hearing about it and realizing who she'd been sleeping next to. I picture my name in a report, and that selfish panic did its job. It froze me. I could have called. I could have hit the horn, run up, anything. Instead, I reversed out slowly, turned off my app, and pretended I didn't just deliver both of them to that moment like a fucking courier. I drove with no music, white-knuckling the wheel, expecting sirens behind me. None came. At a red light, I grabbed my phone and almost dialed. I even typed 911 and stared at the screen like it could judge me. Then the light turned green and I deleted it and kept going. That's the kind of person I was in that second. Not confused, not helpless, choosing. I went home and scrubbed my hands like I'd touched something rotten. I didn't sleep. I kept checking the app like it would tell me she was okay, like the map line would rewind. The next day I drove by and the building looked normal. Sun on brick, people walking dogs, a kid on a scooter. No cops, no tape, just a door I knew how to open. That normal kept punching me in the face. 2 days later, I drove past a precinct and pulled into the lot like I was going to walk in and spill it. I sat there with the car in park, sweating, rehearsing some anonymous tip bullshit. Then I pictured a detective asking my name, then my license, then my phone, and I backed out and left. I told myself I'd call later. I never did. I sat there hearing my own heartbeat thump like that hallway sound, and I hated myself for making the comparison. Then she vanished in a different way. No more requests from that address. No previous writer showing her name in my feed. I kept telling myself she just stopped using Uber, switched apps, moved, got sober, whatever. I built dumb stories because the real one tasted like blood. The real one showed up anyway. Missing poster on a pole. Her face printed too bright for the word missing under it. A local article with a timeline that matched my memory, so tight my throat closed. A candlelight vigil where people stood in a circle and tried to talk sense into the universe. I drove past slow, then parked down the block like a coward and watched strangers cry for someone I'd watched dance in her kitchen. I wanted to walk up and confess, and I couldn't even open my car door. I drove home and sat in my driveway until the sky started turning gray. After that, I started flinching at normal noises. A suitcase thumping downstairs, a trunk slamming, a hallway light flickering. I'd see a guy in a hoodie and my stomach would knot. I'd pick up drunk girls and hear them punch in door codes while I stood behind them, and I'd force my eyes away like that erased anything. It didn't. It just stacked more weight on top. Some nights, when the app sends me to that neighborhood, my throat tightens and I have to pull over and breathe like I'm not about to crawl out of my skin. Other nights, I drive right past like a robot, and I hate myself for how easy that is. And I keep thinking about how I wasn't just a witness. I was part of the chain. I handed her the illusion of safety, and I handed him the way in. She disappeared from the pickup queue after that. News article, missing poster, candlelight vigil. Every time someone types, drivers should do more to keep women safe online, I scroll past with my 5-star rating intact. My uncle thinks the casino ruined him. I know it was me and a spreadsheet. He used to be the fun relative. Bought us fireworks, snuck us beers, handed out scratch-offs at Christmas. He'd roll in late to cookouts with a cooler and a grin, slap me on the shoulder too hard, act like rules were for other people. My mom hated it and still laughed. Everyone did. He made being broke feel temporary, like you could laugh your way out of it. Then he started hitting the riverboat. That's what he called it, like it was a bar with a view, not a floating box built to drain you. At first it was Fridays, then Saturdays, then whatever night, he got restless. He'd come home at 2 or 3, pockets empty, still buzzing like he'd had 6 energy drinks. My aunt begged him to stop. She didn't do speeches. She did numbers, bills on the counter, a pad with dates and amounts. He swore he had a system, said casinos feared disciplined players, said the house couldn't beat him if he stayed disciplined. He asked me, the math kid, to check his odds. I told myself I could talk him down if I looked. I went with him once, just to see. The place hit me like a warm slap. Lights, noise, that fake clean smell, fighting stale smoke. My uncle didn't look around like it was fun. He locked on the blackjack table like it owed him something. His hands shook when he stacked chips. His eyes stayed on the pile more than the cards. When he won, he didn't relax. When he lost, he got mean in this quiet, clenched way, jaw grinding like he was chewing glass. He kept muttering numbers like prayers. Then he went to the ATM and punched the buttons too hard. He grabbed the cash without even counting it and hurried back like the table might vanish. I watched him and felt something ugly click in my head. He wasn't steering. He was chasing. And he wanted to believe he was smart, not addicted. That's where I realized I could steer him. He wanted a tool, something he could hold, something that looked official enough to shut my aunt up and keep his own panic down. So I opened Excel and built him one. I didn't just make a simple sheet. I made it look like a weapon. Tabs, drop-downs, color-coded rules, charts that climbed when you stuck to the plan and cratered when you got emotional. I threw in fake simulations, fake bankroll curves, fake confidence intervals. I made it feel like a lab, like he wasn't gambling, he was executing. Then I twisted it. I nudged the optimal path towards side bets and higher stakes, the stuff that bleeds you faster. I made the sheet punish caution. I made it reward doubling down after losses. I wrote little notes in the margins like a coach. Don't quit during variance. Volume reveals edge. Stopping now locks in loss. Total bullshit, but it read clean. It sounded like discipline. I even added a recovery step that basically told him to raise the bet after a bad run. Like pain was a signal to press harder. I printed it. Thick paper, stapled packet, cover page, like I was handing him a blueprint to beat the house. He lit up. That's the part that still makes me sick. He didn't question it. He didn't even understand it. He just wanted someone smart to say, "Yes, you're right, keep going." My aunt saw the pages and her face tightened. She asked if I was helping him gamble. I got defensive, said it was just math, said structure was better than chaos. She snapped that math doesn't pay the mortgage. He snapped back that she didn't believe in him. They fought in my kitchen like I wasn't there. He stormed out with my packet tucked under his arm like a trophy. After that, he followed it like scripture. He started carrying the printout in a folder. He'd sit in his truck and fill in the cells by hand, like the paper could keep him honest. He'd text me pictures of the charts at 1 a.m., only the green ones, never the red. When the red came, it came as phone calls. He called me from the casino parking lot on bad nights, voice ragged, begging me to recheck formulas. He'd say the dealer was crooked, the shoe was cursed, something was off. I'd hear slot noise behind him, like the building was breathing. I told him it was variance and he needed volume. Told him quitting now would lock in the loss. Told him to stay consistent and stop getting scared. He thanked me like I'd saved him and walked back inside. I stayed awake staring at my phone, waiting for the next hit. At home, it turned into screaming and silence. My aunt started hiding cash. He started tearing the house apart looking for it. He punched a hole through a closet door one night, then cried in the kitchen like he didn't recognize his own hands. The next morning, he acted normal, made coffee, kissed her forehead, and left for the casino like it was work. My mom tried to pull me aside and told me to stop encouraging him. I snapped that I wasn't his babysitter. I hated how righteous my own voice sounded. Then the selling started. He sold his truck first, said he didn't need it because he was optimizing. My aunt screamed at him in the driveway, and he stared past her like she was background noise. He sold the boat next. the one he used to brag about like it made him a king. He told people he was simplifying like it was a lifestyle choice. Then he pawned my aunt's jewelry. He called it temporary. She called it theft. He said she'd thank him when he cashed out. She stopped wearing rings because there weren't any left. He started borrowing from anyone who'd answer. Cousins, co-workers, neighbors. He'd whip out my charts and talk like he was pitching a business. Some people laughed. Some people handed him cash just to get him to leave. His job started noticing. He showed up late. He disappeared on breaks. He smelled like casino air, that stale mix of sweat and sanitizer. When he got cornered by family, he'd point at my graphs like they were a doctor's note. My aunt came to me more than once. Not begging, not dramatic, just exhausted. She asked what the sheet really said. She asked if there was a point where you stop. I lied right through my teeth and told her he was close, told her the math favored persistence, told her one more run could flip it. I watched her face sag like my words gave her permission to keep holding the ceiling up alone. The worst part is I felt powerful. I felt important. I hated myself and kept going anyway. Then he said he had a marker. He said it casual, like he'd opened a tab at a diner. Casino credit. A leash. The kind of debt that doesn't wait. His voice had that thin, jittery edge, like his body ran on panic instead of sleep. He came to my place one night, eyes bloodshot, folder in his hands, and flipped through the pages fast, angry. He kept saying the model was right and reality was wrong. He said the casino was watching him because he was too consistent. He was slipping into that paranoid tunnel where everything is a sign. I could have stopped it. I could have told him it was all fake, that I built it to push him into the hole. I didn't. I said he was close. I said the swing back was coming. I watched his shoulders drop like I'd given him oxygen. After he left, my hands shook for a different reason. Guilt tried to show up, and I shoved it down by telling myself he chose this, that I was just numbers on a screen. A week later, he robbed his workplace. Not a movie job, no masks, no clever plan. He had keys, a code, a shaky hand, and a brain fried on the idea that one more run would fix everything. He took cash to cover the marker and enough to keep playing, because the sheet said the edge shows up over volume. He probably pictured himself replacing it later and acting like nothing happened. They caught him fast. Cameras. Counts. A manager who knew his tells. He folded the second they put paperwork in front of him. In court, he cried about addiction. He blamed the casino, the economy, stress, anything that wasn't him. Everyone nodded like they understood. My aunt sat rigid, empty-eyed. My mom held her hand. Nobody looked at me because nobody knew where to put me in the story. After the hearing, my aunt finally aimed it at me. She didn't scream. She asked if I ever told him to stop. I couldn't answer. My mouth went dry, and my brain kept trying to build another lie. She stared at me for a long second, and then her face changed, like she'd solved the last piece. She walked away without saying goodbye, and that hurt more than yelling would have. I went home and opened my laptop and stared at the file. The tabs, the colors, the neat little lies. It didn't look like a weapon. It looked like homework. That's what makes it worse. It took me a few hours to build a thing that could pull a man apart, and it didn't even cost me anything. My spreadsheet still sits in a folder on my laptop labeled Old Projects. Sometimes I open it and scroll through the fake numbers, and the only thing that bothers me is how easy it was to turn a man into a walking fucking ATM with nothing but trust and a few pretty graphs.